Hi everyone, welcome to episode 38 of YarnAdelaide Knits podcast. A knitting podcast coming to you from the northeastern suburbs of Adelaide in South Australia, Australia. It's Thursday early afternoon, the 1st of February. School went back this week. Yay, get some kind of conformity and regularity. Routine, that's the word I'm looking for, back into the household. Boys are both in high school now, and Scarlett, my 3-year-old, is off at occasional care for a couple of hours, so it gives me some time to get this done. And hubby's asleep at the moment because he started work at 1 o'clock this morning. So yeah, he works at the wholesale produce markets at Potpourri. So, my name's Nicole. Yeah, I'm sure that you know, you've heard. No, sorry. What am I trying to say? I'm also known as Colagirl on social media, Instagram, and I have an Etsy store called Colagirl Collective. So I'm Colagirl74 on Instagram. You can find my Facebook page, Colagirl Collective. I'm Colagirl on Ravelry, and then there is a Ravelry group for the podcast YarnAdelaide Knits podcast group, which doesn't get much activity. I try and get in there, but I kind of get my introvert comes out and gets a bit shy. So I must try and invoke more activity. Today's episode, I've got a finished object and a few whips to show you, and then have some big news for Adelaide Yarnies about Fibre Feast, which is coming up at the end of March. So I'll go into a little bit more detail later on. Yeah, I usually like to, I mostly knit, do a little bit of crochet. I hand dye yarns for my shop. Don't really have much of an update this time, but I do have something to tell you about Colagirl Collective, so that will happen later on as well. And I started to spin last year, but the spinning, I've lost my mojo with that, I reckon, a little bit. I'm not sure what it is. I'm blaming my wheel for it, being that I think I would like to get an e-spinner or something else. I'm not in sync with this wheel, but it is sort of getting me somewhere. I just need to get it out again, I think, and trying to form an affinity with it again. So yeah, so basically today I've got some knitting and some crochet to show you. So I will get into the finished objects. Or object. I finished my Twas the Night Before Christmas socks, which is by a pattern, Danielle George's very first pattern, who's also known as Danny from Little Bobbins podcast. She's based in the UK. Started off a very cute tradition that she shared with the knitting community a few years ago, where you cast on a pair of socks or cast on something on Christmas Eve, which is very cute because I can't believe all the fluff. Something very cute, being that you're very manic all through December with your knitted gifts and leaving things to the last minute. So come Christmas Eve, if you're not, you have, being done, and it's time to cast on something for yourself. So these are for me. They're done in my 2017 Christmas colourway called Jolly Holly. So it's a self-striping yarn. This yarn that I did, I knew I was dyeing this for myself, and I made a slight variance with it, and I made the gold stripe a bit smaller. Repeat, so that's more like 2 rows, where the other 2 colours are 4 rows, the burgundy and the green. There's something that I wanted to experiment with dyeing the self-striping yarn to see how it goes. So yeah, they're in my Drover base, which I think will be, which is my very first pair of socks that I've used for this. So come winter, I'm very keen to see how they wear. It is a 75-25 Australian merino. I find it, being that it's soft, but I have other yarn bases that are softer. So yeah, it's probably a bit more that I would put more in a more sturdier base, which is perfect for socks. So yeah, I also did, being that I have fat ankles and high arches, I ended up doing the heel flap in the larger size, as in I did the medium size with the 64 stitches, but I did the heel flap at the 72 stitch, so in the larger size. So it gave me a longer heel flap, so it gave me more room in this area here to fit over my fat ankles and to allow for my high arches. And also I used 2.25mm needles where I had been previously, to accommodate my fat ankles and high arches, been using 2.5mm needles to give me a slightly larger gauge, therefore a larger sock to fit over my ankle area. But I was finding that, being that I'm using a lot more boutique hand-dyed yarns now that are more softer than durable, or I was more, not necessarily durable, but I was more considering the longevity of my socks and thinking that if I go down a gauge, I'm going to get a tighter fabric, so therefore they're going to last longer and won't wear through in your heels and your balls of your feet around your toes, like a lot of socks do. Yeah, and considering that the first couple of pairs of socks that I ever knit, some almost 15 years ago, are starting to wear through and in those areas, so it was more just a thought process, which I'm quite happy with. I still do use the 2.5s to cast on socks. It's just more, what is it, more, what's the word? I always hate this, that my words fail me when I've got a camera in front of me. More making it more to my specifications than anything. So yeah, they're my Twas a Night Before Christmas socks. So they've got the little tree there. And I did them a little bit longer than what Danny asked for as well, because I think they would have started, I think I did probably another couple of centimetres in the cuff. So yeah, so that's my finished object. What I've got in the way of whips, I've been working on my granny stripe blanket, which last time I spoke to you guys, let me find my stitch marker, I can hear it, I got it up to here, you can see him, turn around blue, just doesn't not want to stay there. Progress Creeper from Tam from Tam's Crafty Knits. So I've got up to there, so I've done, how many more rows have I done? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, about 27 more rows since the last time. That's what I've done, some fluoro colours. I think think last Christmas I did a lot more. I did a few mini skein swaps. And yeah, so it's been good. I've been making magic balls with all the mini skeins, but more colour coordinating them into blues and greys and pinks, and going into more the fluoro, bright coloured fluoro greens and that now. And yeah, so they're you're starting to use up all of those. So I've got a bit more to go before I go again. So I'm happy with the way that that's turning out. And it's funny, it's what I've been wanting to work on mostly, and I have a test knit that I need to work on. This is taking time away from it. I'm making a mess out of what the hell is going on. There we go. Put that up there, out of the way. Yeah, and this is kind of easy, mindless knit crocheting. And yeah, I want to work on that of an evening. But I've been trying to do this test knitting, which I'm making progress. Probably not as much progress as what I'd like to, but it is in lace weight yarn. This is the Potpourri shawl by Dominique Trad, which is a knitwear designer based in Melbourne. I think she's in Melbourne. And yeah, it's a lace weight shawl, which is an asymmetrical shawl, which is quite lovely. And I'm using it in my Matilda lace, which is a 75% Australian Merino, 25% silk. And the colourways that I'm using is Aldinga Drop Off and Fairy Garden. So the Fairy Garden's got speckles of the teal and a cerise purpley pink and yellow and some navy in there as well. And it's got little flower motif lace that picks it up. So yeah, I'm making progress, but not as much progress as you would think. And then I tend to somehow I lose stitches with the yarn overs, and being that it's asymmetrical, so you're increasing in one side and decreasing in the other. And I'm pretty sure that I'm getting that right and consistent, but somehow I'm losing stitches. So I had to pull back half a dozen rows yesterday, which was quite frustrating because there's 180 odd stitches on here, and I think there is no, the grid pattern doesn't tell me how many rows there is. I think there's probably about 800 rows and I'm only 150 odd in, and she wants it in the next couple of weeks, so I think I might have to give the granny stripe blanket a miss for a little while and concentrate on the finishing off the test knit. I'm loving the way it's knitting up, and yeah, it will be beautiful once it's finished. And that's what I keep telling myself, because lace weight doesn't grow like you want it to. You don't reap the rewards of your efforts as quickly as what you do with, of course, fingering weight and double knit or 8-ply. But that is coming along nicely. Another thing something that I have pulled out of my W.I.P basket that has been hibernating for a little bit is a pair of vanilla socks that I was knitting on, and the reason why I've taken it off is because I'm shaping the toe, that I have been using on my little Addy. What are they called? Really short one. And it was a Addy version of it. And now that the toe decreasing, I think I've got decreased enough to 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. No, I've got a couple more rows to go till I then Kitchener. But yeah, the yarn is Moseley Park, and I can't tell you what colourway it is because I've lost the tag. But I'm really liking the bright orange and that cerise purple. So yeah, so that one's coming along. That's what it looks like in the wrapped skein. Them away. So that's one pair of socks that I'm working on. I'm more just taking them out when I'm out and about or I've got appointments and what have you, because it's just vanilla socks. And I've made a little bit of progress on another pair of vanilla socks that I cast on for when I went to the movies last time I spoke with you guys. You always have, well, myself, I always have to have some plain vanilla sock knitting while I'm going to the movies. That's sitting down, doing nothing for 2 hours, or 2+ hours, or at least an hour and a half, and not having any knitting in your hands to be able to utilise that time very effectively. Yeah, so I end up casting on something the morning that I know that I'm going to the movies, as I did with these guys. So this is a Zauberbal that I got in the wool swap with my last wool swap partner, Justine, and yeah, I'm just starting to go into the more jadey green colour. So this is just a basic vanilla 72 stitch sock, which it will end up being gifted to one of the men in my life, whether it's, I know my eldest son doesn't have any socks made by me yet, so he might get a pair, or his father might get this pair, or either of his grandfathers. So I'm not 100% sure yet, although my younger son, who's just started high school, he likes green too, so he might get them as well. Depends on who's my favourite when they're done. Yeah, so they're coming along. That's in it. The Zauberbals are a single ply, which single ply yarn is not my favourite, although I do like the rusticness of it, but it gets splitty because you're not concentrating on and viewing every single stitch that you're working on. So yeah. So they're my 3 projects, and I just realised I left something behind. Okay, I'm back. I forgot about my sweater jumper. My jumper that I'm knitting. So I've made a little bit of progress with my Sunset Highway. It's a bit more, being that I'm continental knitting this one, and my very first, well, it's not my very first colour knitting. I have knit a colour work jumper many years ago that had just a basic little bit of diamond colour work across the chest. It wasn't a yoke, that I did for my cousin 20 years ago probably. Was it before kids? Might have been just before we started having children. My eldest is 15. And then I've done some colour work 8-ply socks as well. They were both made out of acrylic. So, and yeah, I haven't really done any colour work since. So this is still colour work jumper for me. Yeah, so being that you use 2 colours at a time in each row, so I'm not sure what term that makes it. Does it make it fairer? I don't know. I'll get crucified, so I'm not going to speculate. And so yeah, because I was using 2 colours at a time and having one in each hand, I figured that would teach me, or make me bite the bullet and do something in continental style, which is something that I've wanted to do for a long time, but I've never sort of gone, no, just do it. But this time I did do it, being that I wasn't going to stress myself out with the colour work and make myself, with working on it, I wasn't going to stress myself out and have that comforting. So this only gets knitted on for about probably about half an hour each morning. So while Scarlett is having her bottle in bed, I will knit a few rows. So I'm also, once we got down to the plain area, I still carried on the continental, so holding the yarn in my left hand. So it's quite a slow-ish knit and something that I have to concentrate on and watch all the time, because I can't just feel my way like I do with the English style, which is what I'm used to. But I'm liking the way it's progressing. It feels a bit, I'm hoping that it's going to block out nicely that my floats, and I've talked about this with you before. But yeah, using all my yarns in the Swagman base, which is an 85-15 superwash merino nylon base. I kind of see why people say not to use superwash yarn with colour work, because you want that that stickiness of the fibre of the yarn to catch and fill in the holes with the unevenness that colour work can give your gauge. Because I can see some areas where it's, even with my continental knitting, my gauge isn't perfect, because I tend to have a slightly looser gauge with it anyway, and my normal gauge is usually pretty much on par. But there is some areas where I've gone, what the hell was I doing there, with how loose it's gotten. But I'm hoping things will block out. You can see a little bit there, but I can't really see it on the camera. But yeah, so the colours that I'm using, the red is Vampire Apocolypse, the brown speckles is Spice Chai, the mustard yellow is Lionheart, and the black is Blackerty Black. Now this part here was just the one skein, and then I've just added a new, or I'm just incorporating a new ball, but I've still got that much left of the original ball, but I am blending them in together and giving them a longish blending time, so hopefully there won't be too much interruption. Where I haven't, since I've been doing that, I think I've only done probably 10 rows, if that, so you can't, there's not really much room to notice whether I have change, whether you can see much colour change. I'm not 100% sure whether I'm a fan of continental knitting. I don't know. When you've been doing English style knitting for, what is it, since I was about 8 years old, and I'm 43 now. Yeah, trying a new thing, teaching a old dog new tricks can be a challenge. But I'm liking that I'm expanding my knowledge and education on the craft, and that's living in my Tam's Crafty Knits bag that I got in, sorry, Tam was my last wool swap, Justine was the one before. So yeah, so that's yeah, that's one from Tam, was my last one. So that's everything that I've been working on. And talking of wool swap, I did get another wool swap delivery this week from my current wool swap partner, which is Ali, who, what's the name of her podcast? She does a podcast. She's from the, I think it's the central coast of New South Wales. Miss Ali Nakes. is her podcast. She also has, well, she's going to have a Etsy store called Seed Studio. So I'll show you what I got in the package from her, which are some lovely yarns. I got some Dingo Dyworks, which is the Ocean Shores colourway. So in my colour choices that I sent her, I said I like my reds, my pinks and my purples. So she took on board the pinks and the purples, very much so. So yeah, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that. I'm sure the mystery knit-alongs from Jorge and Curious Handmade will be coming soon, and Curious Handmade also has her, she just launched her sock society, so I'm sort of humming and hawing whether I join that. The last 2 years when she's had her Shawl society, I've been gonna join that, and I never have because finances have been a bit tight when the time to sign up for it has come about. So I'm sort of, do I do the sock society, knowing that I want to knit, I want to keep knitting, have a sort of monthly-ish pair of socks off the needles each month. So yeah, so that was the Dingo Dyworks. And then I got some honeybee knits, and that's in nice, blowing out very much so. It's got hot pink and a bright cornflower purple that has sort of, goes into a brighter, sorry, yeah, got a bright blue, then goes into a sort of a darker, brighter blue, and then got hints of mauve through it as well, which I'm sure that's just the pink and the blue mixing together. That's honeybee. I haven't heard of honeybee, and it's called Heart Shaped Tattoo, which it says it's a 70-25 superwash merino nylon. I think that's a bit of a typo. It might be I think it's a 75-25, but hey, who knows? I could be completely wrong. And then I got a skein of the Knit Pick Simply Alpaca 12 ply or Aran weight, which is lovely and soft, but tickles. And I got 2 mini skeins of Mothy and Sqid. What is it? Mothy and the Sqid. So one is Blue Raspberry, which is that one, which is pretty groovy. And this one is called Lungwort. It's quite pretty as well, with the blues and purples. As well as what's her name? This is from another indie dyer podcaster over in the East Coast. What's her name? My Creative Garage. Yeah, it's one of her speckle bases, and I know she likes to do quite bright, vibrant colours where it's getting quite blown out. No, it's just the glare from the window up there that's just washing everything out. That's quite bright pinks and oranges and aqua blues. So that'd be quite cute socks knitted up as well. And then I got a heap of Progress Keepers. It's all about high tea, I think. It's got a crumpet, a sugar cube, a teapot, tea and cucumber sandwich. They're very cute. As well as a little notions pouch, but I reckon it might be big enough to put a sock project in that you can shove in your handbag. especially if you've got your basic vanilla socks in there. So yeah, I think that was all that I got in the package from Ali. Mine's coming. I haven't sent her mine yet, but I was winding up mini skeins yesterday. I was humming and hawing of what colour, what to send her, being that her prerequisite on colour was neutral with speckles of colour. So I've been trying to accommodate to that that information. Hopefully I've done it. Excuse me, just going to have a swig of coffee. And being that it's Thursday, it's garbage day, so that was a truck that you may have just heard. Sorry. So, one thing. This morning, Scarlett was watching a couple of videos on YouTube, and it was of some little girls that were playing on a bed, and they had mermaid tail blankets. It's like I've been dreading having to knit one of those, and she's been watching a lot of YouTube videos of little girls swimming with mermaid tails. So she's quite fascinated by all of that. And being that summer here, we've got a little paddle pool at the back that she loves playing in and what have you, and she's very fascinated with learning to swim, which I find quite interesting, that she knows what's going on, where her brothers were completely oblivious at that age. So yeah, so I've just I've downloaded a pattern to knit her a mermaid tail blanket, as much as I'm really not a fan. But it will be a good way to get rid of some of my stash. And for some reason I seem to have a lot of cotton in a heavy weight in my stash. So I had some Debbie Bliss Pure cotton in a bright pink colour, that one there. I've got about 800 grams of it, so we should be able to get a mermaid tail. I haven't even fully cast on the stitches that it's asked for, so that's there. I'll see if I can find the picture of the pattern, because it's a free pattern on Ravelry, but it's not even a that's it there. It's got some pattern on it, which I thought was quite cute. What's it called? Children's Mermaid Tail Knitting Pattern. So it's not even a PDF file of a pattern, it's just on somebody's blog. But it's a free pattern, so that will be fun, having to find it every time I need to look at the pattern. I think that's pretty much all that's happened yarny wise to me with what's coming in. I did want to do a bit of a kind of a knit along on Ravelry, but I'm not sure what I need to do, what I will do. I'll have to ponder it a bit more. But as some of you may know, or may have heard about it, there is going to be a Fibre Feast market in Adelaide on the 24th of March this year. That is being coordinated by myself, Charmaine from Yarnarama, and Yasmin from Pearl and Friends. So 3 independent yarn businesses based in Adelaide, and we go to a social knitting group together. And we've often talked about the yarny community in Adelaide and being that it's quite vast, and there is a lot of social groups around Adelaide, but there's never been a go-to store that is able to sustain and survive really well in Adelaide, because you've got your Spotlights and your Lincrafts, and you know, we all reluctantly go there, and we're all guilty of buying yarn from there, reluctantly mostly, but you know, you go there because you see what's there. And there is a pretty good indie dyeing fibre business culture in Adelaide, where there are quite a few indie dyers. So we thought, well, we can create a Bendigo in Adelaide, shall we say, for want for a better description. So yeah, so Saturday, and we didn't want it to clash with any of the other dates, being that there is the yarny community in Australia is probably a tight-knit community that a lot of us do know what is happening in each state. So we didn't want to, and within your own state as well, so we didn't want to tread on anybody's toes with dates and what have you, knowing of what we did know. So our market fair day will be Saturday, March the 24th, from, I think it's from 10 to 4 p.m, might be 11 to 4, but I'm pretty sure it's 10 to 4 p.m, at the Blackwood Memorial Hall in Blackwood. It's on the main road there. I'm not 100% sure of the street address. I should know this, and that's really unprofessional of me for not to say it. But I got everything else right. Yeah, so we have quite a few indie businesses that have confirmed and paid up front for their stalls already, which is really exciting. I'll let you guys know who's all there. So yeah, myself, Colagirl Collective, Yarnarama and Pearl and Friends will be there. Then we have Kathy's Fibres, Ren and Ollie. We've got Kathy from Kathy's Fibres, Mia from Ren and Ollie, John, and I think John's partner is Russell from Rusty Yarns. John is another relatively new indie dyer to Adelaide that sells on Etsy, and his partner turns some beautiful wooden yarn bowls and platters and stuff. So I've got John geared up to get his partner to make as many of those as possible, so because I'm sure he will sell out. And Kathy from Kathy's Fibres, I don't need any introduction. We all know about Kathy. Even the eastern states and Bendigo know about Kathy. Kathy's been probably one of the original indie dyers in Australia, being that she's been around for about 10 plus years. And then Mia from Ren and Ollie. Everybody knows Mia from Ren and Ollie, where she has quite a beautiful not yarn, I was going to say not yarn palette, but has a beautiful way of dyeing her yarns. And then we have Julianne from Lovebird Lane. That's been around probably about the same amount of time, maybe a month or two later than me, with her dyeing business. And then there's another new one. I can't remember her name. I did see it and it's escaped me. Sqid Yarn Co. I think she lives close by to me. And then another one of the original indie dyers in South Australia, Jane from Moseley Park. And then we also have quite a few designers based in Adelaide as well. And Jessica Gore is getting quite a good name from the Sweater Collective, and she's an Adelaide girl. So Jess will be there as well, and it'll be awesome to meet her face to face, because I did a test knit for her a couple of months ago now. And then there's Monica, who is a really, really new yarn dyer from Ash and Oak Yarn. And then I think it's Luda from Handcrafted Gifts. She does some really pretty drop spindles, and she gets some exotic fibres in as well, which I'm keen to have a look at that. Then we've got Sian from Sian's Yarns, and the infamous Barb from Barb Summer Knits is going to be there. So she's one of the bricks and mortars that we have in Adelaide, and we've got Mel from Exclusively Mel with her handmade knits, and Jude from the 7th Girl, who's another relatively new one that started up similar time to me as well. And she lives local too, to me. So that's everybody so far. There's a few more that are, you know, coming on, but these are all locked in and paid their site fees. So that's it for so far, and I'm really excited. There'll be a few more to go yet, being that it's not for another 6 weeks, 6-7 weeks. So yeah, I'll get a countdown going. There is a Instagram page, Fibre Feast SA. I'll put a thing up when I edit this. Yeah, and there is a Facebook page as well, Fibre Feast SA. So get on there and you can learn a bit more about who's going to be there. Yeah, 24th of March, Blackwood Memorial Hall in Blackwood. I think Guild went back, South Australian Hand Knitters Guild went back last week. Last couple of years they've started having a knit and natter at the end of January. Usually we get most of December and January off, but our current president likes to have that informal meet-up in January, just to, you know, being that it's more about friendships and having that informal knit and natter that a lot of the members do like to have done, even though previously January is notorious, especially the end of January, as it has been, is notoriously hot, and it was a pretty hot day that day. But yeah, went back, and then this Saturday we've got our first meeting. So hopefully the Hand Knitters Guild would sign up and we'll have a table at the Fibre Feast as well. The Fibre Feast, will be our first one, and this will be our pathfinder as such, as to how it's received and how we can improve and what other things we can bring to the fibre community in South Australia. I know between Charmaine and myself we've been talking about a retreat as well, but not wanting to, being that there is already a retreat with Kathy's Fibres and Moseley Park that they do annually, not wanting to disrupt their plans and have it at, you know, different times of the year and that as well, but being that we have quite a good fibre community and following in Adelaide, that we could have another retreat somewhere else as well. And yeah, and then you have the open day that the Guild has, and then the Hills, Adelaide Hills Spinners and Weavers, they have an open day as well. That is kind of a yarny event. And then you've got Mount Pleasant in August, which is another yarny event. So with markets and what have you, there is quite a few events happening in Adelaide that are gaining popularity and yearly traditions as well, which is awesome. I think that's about it that I'll have to tell you. I'm sure once I turn off I will remember. I did write notes, but they are all quite vague and what have you. And I think of things and go, yeah, I remember that, that'll be no worries. But yep, I think that's about it that I have to tell you. That's what I had to tell you about Colagirl Collective. I don't have a yarn update, but this weekend I am going, being that I need to start dyeing up for this Fibre Feast, I need to get some more stock in so I can dye it up. So I'm going to have a 15% off this weekend. So it'll be Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah, and I will put it on Instagram when I have created it, but I will create a code for you guys to use, something probably like Feast 15 or something like that. So yeah, you can get 15% off this weekend. Hopefully you guys will jump aboard it and help me clear out a little bit of stock and get some cash flow coming in so I can buy some more stock for and dye up for the Fibre Feast. So I can get lots of self-striping yarn out, and yeah, I have been dyeing a little bit, but I want to save them for the fair. Hence, there's some fibre there that I've been dyeing out and some fibre there, and you know, little teasers in the background there, so I'm not going to bring them down and show you what they are, because that's just being cruel. You can see them from a distance and go, yeah, they're pretty. Alright guys, I'm waffling. I'll talk to you later. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. That would be awesome. Thanks guys. Enjoy your knitting. See ya.